in terms of the market structure. We've shifted bearish, at least in the 4-hour chart. Again, we haven't taken out any major lows, so I'm not necessarily looking for a massive move to the downside for the dollar just yet. If we can break structure, more importantly, break through this low, then that's when I'll turn very, very bearish in the dollar and looking for a pretty big trend to the downside. However, we're still in a situation where this could still be a more complex pullback for price to continue to the upside and possibly follow this bullish trend here, and this could be the continuation still, or it could be the start of potentially price forming some counter trend and potentially a reversal. So we're still kind of in in a situation where we're not too sure in terms of the big move, or at least I am anyway. But at least in terms of opportunities and the short, medium-term outlook, I am looking for shorts. I like this area here, which I highlighted on the weekly analysis. If you didn't check it out, make sure you go do so. Price has been printing these lower highs and lower lows. So of course, that's the original high, low, lower high, new lows. So the plan this week is looking for a pullback for the dollar, for price to then see another lower high in relation to those two previous highs and see a continuation back into the lows and possibly back into the lows here as well. But we'll wait and see if price breaks through or maybe respect it and turn around. But this is the move I'm looking to capitalize on this week or whenever it does develop, a pullback into roughly the 108, 108.5 area. Looking for some opportunities to take dollar to the downside and of course potentially buy euro, buy pound. Depends which USD pair does set up well for me. But this is the outlook I do have here with the DXY. So taking that information into euro, I'm pretty much looking at the exact opposite of that, which is, again, you've got the first low here, price created a high, new high, low there. Potentially, we haven't quite created a new high yet. We have revisited that resistance, but haven't quite broken through. But again, the plan this week is to look for another higher low in comparison to those two previous higher lows. I marked on this area here as a low price created past this point here. So we do have some bullish structure over here as well. Not the most confident structure in the world, but market is still pushing to the upside. And I marked out this trend line here as well. So I kind of want to see a deep pullback this week for euro, which lines up to fair with what I'm looking at with the dollar. I'm looking at a deeper correction for the dollar this week. We do have some bearish structure, probably more in the lower time frames to look at here, but I'm looking at a slightly bigger pullback. Not really interested in the shorter term. Euro USD, same thing as well. Want to see a bigger pullback, and also because euro is very, very corrective. It's another type of market which is seeing a lot of momentum and inviting me into some aggressive buys. If we just look at the context of euro USD in the past few weeks, it's been incredibly flat. More or less equal highs, more or less equal lows. The market hasn't really gone anywhere, and we haven't really seen too much momentum in a clear direction. So overall, the market is really flat. But what we can take from that is that, okay, we've been very bearish for a while, seeing a lot of momentum. Now that has disappeared. So potentially we're forming a bit of a bottom here to push the upside. So that's the way I'm looking at euro, which is, again, why I do have that bullish bias for euro USD. So because we're very, very choppy, means I want to buy down low and make sure my entries are as close to the extremes of the market structure as possible. I can get a safe stop loss and maximize my risk reward if I am trading in the right direction. And waiting for a deeper pullback into this territory here around 1.03 would do that for me. Price has enough time to see a nice downside move whilst I can find some entries in a relatively safe place, have a relatively safe stop loss and a decent target, at least back to the highs again, possibly maybe even back to resistance up here. So Euro USD still under the impression that we are getting ready for a turn. But in terms of entries, entering at these prices aren't really looking too great, especially at resistance, seeing really strong rejections of that, not really adding up. So I want to see move to the downside first and then some upside. Pound USD likewise as well. Of course, a very similar market to euro, and it's always nice to see them moving in sync. And pound USD, I'm getting a similar situation here as well. I'm liking this kind of bullish channel the market is moving in, connecting these higher lows, and you kind of got the higher highs there as well. So I'm looking for another push to the downside for pound and another up move. I've talked a lot about that 1.25 level, really key support previously and resistance as well. As we look to our left, you can see really strong support once, twice, then was acting resistance once, twice as well. So this is an area which price has paid a lot of attention to, and there's a good chance we could bounce from this area. Should we come back to revisit, of course, see some entry signals, wicks, candlestick patterns, and of course, we do have that lovely trend line confluence, which is where I'm looking for the next higher low in this pattern. So 1, 2, 3, looking for number 4 for another bounce to the upside, at least back to highs, but more so if we can get back to resistance here on the left. Again, looking at pound USD in the bigger picture on the higher time frames, we are coming from a pretty strong low. Price came back from back into this area here, which gave us a really big move to the upside and created new highs past this point, and we have respected that. And of course, now we're starting to see some higher highs and higher lows. So I wonder, is pound USD going to see a similar move? Again, that could take a long time, so I'm not necessarily looking to trade that, but it's nice to know that, okay, we possibly could see that, and we're trading it in that direction in favor of the higher time frame, which is always a good confluence to have in your trading. If you've got the higher time frame backing, you'd want that rather than not. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at there for pound USD. There's major resistance over here on the left, and wonder potentially going to be attracted to that area. But in terms of the setup anyway, I'm looking for some downside for pound buys in this area, then looking for some longs. A pretty straightforward setup there for pound USD. Dollar CAD, I still really like dollar CAD to the downside as well. As you can see, most of these USD pairs I'm favoring USD weakness, not only because of the DXY looks like we could see weakness, but also the price action on the USD majors are giving me information that the market's likely to show more weakness for the dollar CAD included. Lovely consolidation here as well. Again, the real thing here with dollar CAD is the massive spike we got to the upside and massive follow through we got back to the downside. This type of characteristic is really something I'm looking for in terms of price impulsing in one direction and then pulsing back down, especially at the tops of trends, and especially when we're hitting really big levels of resistance on the higher time frames, which is exactly what dollar CAD did. Major resistance if we zoom out once, twice, and now they're a third time. I'm not saying that we're going to get a massive sell-off like we did previously, but it's an area where definitely buyers will be looking to take profits, sellers looking to jump into the market. We could see a reaction, and so far we have seen a reaction, and all I'm looking to do is capitalize on that and expect a bit more downside. So in terms of the price action, we had a lovely range here for dollar CAD. Price broke to the upside, now has follow through to the opposite direction. So I'm expecting more follow through in that direction. In terms of entries, I want to see a retest of that range, and then on our way we go. That is really my outlook there for dollar CAD. I don't really want to see price break to the upside. I mean, I wouldn't be adverse. I wouldn't change my bias. I may still look for entries up at the high here, but this is definitely my more preferred level of choice, 1.43. If we do break through, it depends how we look. If we break impulsively, that might put me off, but if it's still corrective, I may look for entries at 1.445. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. In terms of Aussie dollar, I like this to the upside as well. So again, favoring that USD weak bias, looking for a similar opportunity as with dollar CAD, which is the retest of this range here. I did say watch out for this range here last week because we might not see that bigger pullback. We have seen a slight reaction, but hasn't really amounted to much. So possibly maybe the bigger pullback is happening. This is always the area I've been interested in on the 4-hour chart. If I can get some entries here, that would help maximize my risk reward, at least for a push back into the high. I do think we can go further as well. Looking at Aussie dollar on the weekly chart, again, look where we're situated. Really strong level of support, massive reaction to the upside, and we're back there again as well. So really comfortable level of support. Markets respected it well. Nice double bottom down here. A really aggressive reaction there as well. And since then, prices broke structure to the upside and given us a bit of a bullish trend. So again, for Aussie dollar, looking for a pullback, a high low, and some more upside, at least for a push back into the high. So nothing too crazy. I have pinpointed some levels on the left we can consult in terms of extended targets if you're looking to really stretch the trade, which I think you're in a good place to do so. Coming from a big level, if the trend is reversing, if this bearish trend here has really met its end, there could be a lot of upside. So trying to push trade is not the worst idea in the world. But again, if you're looking for something sensible, let's say if we do get pullback here, then of course a push back to the high we came from is always a logical target to have. terms of New Zealand dollar, which is very similar compared to Aussie dollar, again, similar kind of analysis as well. Lovely double bottom here. Price has since broken structure to the upside, expecting more upside in general. Again, coming back into a very strong weekly level of support as well. Again, the bigger move for New Zealand dollar may still be to the downside, but at least expecting some type of reaction before maybe that does kick in. We'll speak about that maybe in a couple of weeks' time. But for now, still looking at more upside. This one's already printed some nice structure on the 4-hour chart, some higher highs and higher lows. So again, expecting the repeat of the same. We've got a nice brief pause there in the market. I think from an intraday perspective, if you're looking at more the hourly chart or 30-minute chart, New Zealand dollar could be a nice pair to look at for retest of that consolidation. Again, for a push back to the high. And again, similar to Aussie dollar, there's some areas here on the left you can look at for some targets if you want to stretch trade a bit further. But from an intraday point of view, if you can get it back to the high, that would be a really nice position. And then in terms of gold and silver, these ones, I mean, I'm still overall generally bullish for both of them, but I need the price action to clean up a little bit. Gold kind of stuck at the highs here a little bit. Looks like, are we trying to break to the upside? Are we trying to respect the level? It's a bit miss and match right now of gold. All I'm really looking for is a powerful break to the upside to reinstate that bullish bias and tell me that, okay, the buyers are very much in control and the trend is still very much alive, because the trend's been going on for quite a long time. It's very extended. We'll be expecting a bigger pullback at some stage. Of course, when that will happen, we don't know. We can still keep pushing. There's this big psychological level here at 3K. I wonder if price wants to go and hit that first before potentially pulling back. If we do see a strong break of that resistance, there could be some nice buys in the low time frames to write it up potentially to 3K. So that's something to look at. If we do respect the resistance and start to come back down again, I'm just going to wait to see how price develops, because right now we're stuck in between a rock and a hard place right now, between resistance and support. So all we've been doing over the past week or so is just bouncing in between these two levels. And if we push back down, we're coming back into support. So I can't really do too much with that with gold. If we can break to the downside, great. That means we're probably going to see a bit of a pullback now. If we break to the upside, okay, the trend's just going to continue. And we possibly start looking for 3K. So in terms of my interest for gold, it really does rely on the breakout of the support and resistance. Then we can look for some momentum and some follow through. At the moment, it's a little bit dry. Silver, likewise, as well, not really showing momentum as well. Again, price had a very dodgy close last week. This was Friday's candle, came back pretty aggressively. And if I go to the weekly chart, you can see that we're still firing a lot of wicks to the upside. And it looks like price is trying to break through the resistance, but it's struggling a little bit. Again, I'm still expecting us to come back into resistance up there. That's still the target I have for silver. But you can see in the weekly chart, we're just firing wick after wick after wick in this area. So from a higher time frame perspective, we're struggling to break through. On the daily chart, looks like we are trading above the level, but I need to see if we can hold this as support and turn around. If not, if we come back below, yeah, things get very awkward for silver and possibly might see a bit of a move to the opposite direction. So right now, I would suggest silver's coming back to test some very strong support. If we do hold, then we have a good chance to see the continuation of the trend. If we don't, then yeah, I'm going to back away from silver because we might see a big move to the downside.